The Whitman-Hanson Regional School District has been at the forefront of creating solid educational infrastructure over the last decade. The high school was built with such efficiency that the Massachusetts School Building Authority, or MSBA, now uses it as a model school for others across the state. Our high school students are learning in an environment tailored to providing a first-class, comprehensive 21st century education, equipped with a wide range of technology. But it's not just the high school where Whitman-Hanson students are learning in state-of-the-art facilities. All but one of the district schools meets or exceeds acceptable standards for 21st century schools. This one exception, however, is a major concern for Whitman-Hanson. Several years ago, MSBA conducted a facility audit of school buildings in Massachusetts. At that time, the condition of Maquan Elementary School in Hanson was designated as Level 4, the lowest facility rating given to schools. In fact, only 4% of surveyed schools were in this category. At that time, it was revealed that it would cost over $10 million to address basic age-related deficiencies and over $13 million to address basic site and dehumidification issues. Clearly, the Maquan Elementary School building has become a significant expense for both school and town budgets on a yearly basis. From inefficient energy costs to repetitive repair bills, Maquan drains resources from the rest of the schools and from the town of Hanson.
Right now, we did a spreadsheet on the money that we've spent on maintaining and repairing for the last 5 years, and the costs are probably above $100,000, because not only have we spent money on repairs, but we've also not been able to depend on the heat coming out of the boilers. So the cost on replacing 82 tubes in one boiler cost us around $15,000. Unfortunately, when the tubes go, it's not during normal maintenance. It's actually when the boilers are under pressure and the tubes inside the boilers let go. So we have a shutdown. The possibility of not having school is always there. It's leaks, air leaks all over the building. Pneumatics is, we have a compressor over there that pumps a certain pressure up and then goes to each thermostat. And when each thermostat calls for heat, the pressure releases and then the heat goes to that room. In this situation, we have leaks inside walls that continually call for heat, so the inefficiency right there is the boilers are running constantly. We don't have control over sending a specific temperature to each classroom like we have in the other schools, and like the average school district has.
The electrical system is also obsolete, causing major issues throughout the building.
This electrical company is no longer in business. In fact, they've Underwriters Laboratory outlawed these about 15 years ago. This Federal Pacific equipment 20 years ago was found to be not safe equipment to operate. 20 years later, after Underwriters Laboratory identified it as a very unsafe equipment, we still have it here at Maquan School.
So this company is no longer producing any of this because they said it's unsafe?
Correct. Yeah. And it's not manufactured anymore, and that company's out of business. So to get parts for this, non-existent. And again, we have a very good electrician who has a way of making things operate, but again, it's a very unsafe condition.
The electrical system, we're constantly blowing fuses. We can put on one laminator and then somebody plugs in any kind of appliance of any sort, and we're trying to add smart boards and new technology, and we just can't. Every time we do a project, if we do, we put in a couple of Promethean boards. We have to hire an electrician to come in and do the fit up because we don't have the resources to plug it in.
The service coming into the building is not big enough, and it needs to be upgraded. Plus, in the classroom, unlike other schools, they have multiple hookups for data and electric. We have probably one or two in each classroom. And in a typical classroom, they'll have a projector, they'll have a TV, they'll also have a computer. In the warmer temperature, it might be a fan, and that's what happens. Is too much need for that classroom. It doesn't have enough power going into the classroom. And in order to do that, would be a major expansion of the electrical system, and once we do that, we have to upgrade this system. And it's a pretty heavy dollar to do that. So you just can't, right now, this system, the the infrastructure is maxed out to its potential. I don't think back in 1963, and in fact I know that for a fact, they had envisioned all of this equipment in a classroom that a teacher has today.
In addition, even with the added attention Maquan must receive from the maintenance staff, the school is a substandard building for effective learning. Teachers and students routinely have to wear jackets in class because of the cold and uneven temperatures.
We have some rooms that are overheating, and we have some teachers, rightfully so, complaining that their classrooms are too cold. So, and the other thing is, whenever we have a coil that bursts or a coil that fails, it has to be custom built. The only place we're able to get them built is in New Jersey. So we have to take measurements, send photographs, and then it takes 2 to 3 weeks, can be even a month, to have it custom made, to have it re-put into the univent.
Well, when it was really cold, when the heat was off, we actually wore our coats in the building. And then they get kind of sleepy in the afternoon, like when it's hot. We have to do, a lot of moving around and things like that just to keep them engaged.
We had 2 days this week. The boilers are very, very old. They flamed out. We had no heat. And the children actually had their jackets and coats on in classrooms and literally had hoods on. Teachers had, scarves around their necks. And, you ask children to learn in an environment like that, and you can't.
It's not a good educational environment, for the kids to be in, or even the teachers.
There are many code issues at Maquan Elementary School that impact the safety of the students. A major concern is the lack of fire safety sprinklers. This is the only school not equipped with this potentially life-saving safety feature. Again, it does not meet current code.
We have no sprinklers in the building. We have not one sprinkler, so if there were a fire in this building, we practice that fire drill repeatedly. We have programs in the building where children are North River Collaborative children in wheelchairs and multi-handicapped children. So we practice how to get out of a building because we don't have sprinklers to save children's lives. So that's really important to me because that's where you want kids to be safe in a clean, warm place.
The entire infrastructure of the building's heating system is flawed and outdated. A maintenance person has to be scheduled specifically to make sure the system is operating correctly and the pipes are not freezing. This is just another added cost for the district. Even with the careful attention being paid to the building, there have been instances where pipes have burst and water has damaged classrooms, so significantly, in fact, they had to be relocated within the building.
We've had a flood. We had 13 classrooms that were flooded because of the same boiler. Basically, the water goes through the system, and Ernie will tell you this. One of the pipes froze, it burst, and that hot water continually ran through into the classroom and flooded classrooms down below.
It's an inherent problem with old equipment. We service this building as well as we service every other building. Unfortunately, the equipment, its life expectancy is beyond that, and we have failures. So when we have a failure here, if it's on a weekend, we have a freeze up, the whole lower floor would be flooded. And if we catch it in time, it might be 1 or 2 classrooms. If we don't, it can be the whole lower floor. And you can look on the floor, there's carpets for the kids. A lot of times what will happen, our last flood, I think we spent close to over $50,000 just in reclaiming all of the problems or all of the damaged material that it happened when we had the freeze up.
In the spring and fall, very few classrooms can even open windows to bring in fresh air because of deteriorating structures. This makes the classroom a very uncomfortable place for learning.
We have a problem with windows. This whole building, the old building, the original building, single pane glass, steel frames. What we end up doing is when a window breaks, we replace it with a typical window. But as far as venting, opening windows for ventilation on a beautiful spring day or a beautiful fall day, we have limited access to windows that open properly. The big thing, we're in the age of trying to save. We're all trying to buy a Prius. We're all trying to save energy, and we have single pane glass here that actually allows so much cold during a cold day to come in. I bet you if you walk by this window, if it's 15 degrees out, you would be close to 4 feet away from the window. You could feel it allowing that cold air to penetrate through. It's not thermal pane, it's single pane glass.
The bathrooms are another area of concern. Just recently, a rusted door fell off in the boys' bathroom and needed to be replaced. A quick examination of the restrooms revealed that our custodial staff keeps them very clean, but at the same time cannot hide the rust and deterioration. There were also plumbing issues which caused the district to waste water and tax the septic system.
The flushometers, we have a tremendous amount of problems with the flushometers. The pots for those flushometers is very expensive replacing. If we have one or two that go, what ends up happening, this is the first thing that we look at. If there's work done out in the street, somebody digs up something and a little dust or a little dirt gets in to the water system, these flushometers will all fail. And what happens is they fail to flushing. So now we have tremendous amount of water coming out of these flushometers into a septic system. And we're not only wasting water, but we're also flooding a septic system that can't handle the overflow of the water.
The entire building is far below Americans with Disabilities Act standards for accessibility. And because the school is essentially 3 levels, this compounds the issues for students in wheelchairs.
This building.
Just to give you an example, we have she was here in grade 2, a student in a motorized wheelchair. She had multiple disabilities. Very, very independent-minded, very, strong-willed in a sense, and she certainly wanted to be able to ambulate around the building. Her wheelchair actually had a little control on it, and we used to have to tell her to bring it down to turtle speed because she'd fly through. She's very independent, could do it well, could not manipulate the floors at all. And ultimately, of course, she goes over to Indian Head, and then she'll go to the high school. But her time that she missed just getting through the building is wasted time. It's wasted time with her friends, it's wasted time learning. She's missing out on anything that she should be entitled to do because physically her body couldn't do it, and we couldn't accommodate that disability, and that's a shame. When elderly people come through, it's also kind of sad.
Now, just like you might find in an old house, there are other issues with the building which will end up costing more money down the line. The gutter system is failing, for example, and is causing further moisture damage, which could end up being a major problem.
What you're looking at right now is the Soffit area for the gymnasium. That is the standard throughout this building. It's 24-inch Soffit with pine on it that the water, as you can see, the water's running over, plus not going into the gutter properly. And that's one of the issues with the building is the envelope, the building envelope is in decent shape. Unfortunately, things like that continue through, and if at a typical home, if that's not addressed, it goes into the interior of the building. And moisture coming into these buildings, into this building, is a common problem.
Maquan was once a great learning environment, but the reality now is that the young students at Maquan begin their educational careers in an environment that is far less than optimal. Maquan is the only school in the district that has not been renovated or replaced. At the elementary level, Indian Head School, Conley School, and Duval School all underwent renovations within the last 10 years. Consequently, those Maquan students are at a distinct disadvantage to their counterparts at Conley and Duval and Whitman.
This is the only school, this is their only experience in pre-K to 2. This is their first experience, a parent's first experience. And I see it as a community school. It should be a community school. And I came from Duval. I was at Duval. We had beautiful classrooms, the latest in terms of lighting and space. And I remember when I first walked in here, I was pretty shocked. I have to be honest. I actually was very shocked. The office itself, the first thing we did is we completely gutted everything out, and actually Ernie built that counter, and we painted and tried to make it look brighter and more like an early childhood center. I think that was my big, it's a pre-K to 2 building, it should be where little kids come in awe of what it looks like. But it's, it's part of my job. It's what I have to deal with. So you have that part of it that's more about building and facilities than about education and students. And you deal. And again, I think as a district, people are extremely responsive, but they can't do anything. It's really up to the community to do it.
The community is also shortchanged by this older building, which cannot accommodate meetings, afternoon activities, and athletic events. Many elementary schools in surrounding towns, like Pembroke and Hingham, for example, have gymnasiums that serve the community for youth sports. While Maquan is used for this purpose too, it is not big enough to actually host games or events. Pembroke and Hingham have gymnasiums that are so well equipped they could actually host varsity sporting events. The youth programs in town offer fewer opportunities to the children because they simply do not have the space for practices. In the final analysis, the status quo is costing Hanson citizens too much. It is costing our students the opportunity to learn in an environment which enhances education. And it is costing taxpayers wasted dollars every year, with repairs that only prove to be stopgap measures. Currently, every dollar spent by the school district or the town of Hanson is not reimbursed. A dollar is a dollar. The good news, though, is that a project approved by MSBA not only offers facility improvement, but also project reimbursement. As a result, the taxpayer burden is significantly reduced.